Hey everybody, welcome to Paint Minis Live. I'm your host, Bill T. Coming in at the Creation Cave today. I was sick the last couple of days. I put out a little short letting everybody know. Um, just to say a real quick thing, there were a couple of people in there that were like, why did you take work off? Like what for a little cold, like what's going on? Well, I mean, it definitely wasn't a little cold. I'll put it that way. This thing had me on the sofa pretty hard. I didn't have anything going on it was a cough to the point I was getting headaches and stuff like that. But I called out of work early when I started getting to the point where I felt like I knew I was sick. And that's because I work for a really small kind of family owned company. There's on two hands how many employees we have. And, if one of us gets sick and we start spreading it around to the other employees, it can really derail some stuff. Like, it can cost the company a lot of money if we're not careful and have people around you catch this stuff. And it can really it can make people's lives pretty tough, especially because there's only, there's one delivery driver, and then there's me that works many other hats, including the delivery stuff. So, you start taking that out of the equation, and you're having to hire couriers and things, and that costs the company a lot of money. So, I asked my boss about it, and they were on board because they don't want to have to foot the bill for a courier service. They'd rather have me out of the office than get the other driver sick or the warehouse guy sick or whatever. So, just that's why I decided to go down that route. And then, yeah, again, just coughing until you got a headache like no tomorrow, and just fever throughout the weekend. Basically, I lost my whole weekend. I was really hoping to stream or do something, but I was just tied to the couch. It kind of sucked. It sucks. I hate getting sick. What's going on, Wheeling Dragon? How am I feeling now? I'm feeling better. I'm gonna try to keep the sniffles to a minimum. But yeah, just to address that was kind of why I decided to dump out of work early. Tonight, you're all here for some basic airbrush stuff. So I'm currently going through a course with Kenny Boucher from Next Level Painting. If you haven't seen him, he's a legendary painter in my world, anyways. Let's see if we can bring up Kenny's YouTube channel. He's mostly on Twitch nowadays. But he's a wonderful painter, and I kind of started learning from him way back in the day. Next Level Painting. He does all kinds of stuff now, but this dude does some of the most OG stuff for Warhammer 40,000, and his art's really beautiful. Thanks for that, Wheeling Dragon. How you doing, Robert? Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad to be back in the studio. To be honest with you, I'm feeling much better now. Step one: what airbrush to buy? Anyone you can get your hands on. I have, as long as it's a the kind of airbrush that I'll be using tonight is a gravity fed, dual action airbrush. Yeah, so. The gravity, you put the paint in the pot, the gravity pushes it down, it goes through a little reservoir, out the needle, and, onto your model. And then the trigger part of it, dual action, is just push down for air, pull back for paint. And the further that you pull that back, the more paint will come out. So that's what we're going to be using tonight. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so you guys can see the guy I'm talking about real quick. I'll just introduce him. Here we are. Yeah, so this is Next Level Painting with Kenny Boucher. This is the guy I'm talking about. But I took a class with him, and it was basically all about contrast. The this guy lives and breathes super high contrast and a lot of like non-metallic metal stuff. But I mean, as you can see, he's very, very contrast with his work, and it looks cool. It brings a lot more to the eye than some of the stuff that I'm doing. So I was interested. I took the I took the plunge with him, and so part of that was an assignment, essentially, to go ahead and paint up some guys with super heavy contrast, and we're going to work his system from there. So that's what I'm planning on doing tonight, and I'm going to show a little bit on some of my progress with like color marriages. So far, I've done one master model, and we'll go ahead and put that up on screen. But this again is all done with a gravity-fed dual action airbrush at about 20 psi ish. The one that I have is a bit more on the expensive side, but that's because I like to have a nice detail brush, and this is kind of what I do. This is my hobby, so I do tend to do that. How are you guys doing out there, Wheeling Dragon? Robert, how you guys doing? What's new in your worlds as I get the second camera up on screen here? Tell me all about it. I'm curious. I'm going to get rid of the branding too, may as well. We're kind of going to go into class mode here. Well, somewhat like class mode. It's going to be... I'm going to share some of it, but I don't want to steal all of Kenny's thunder if somebody out there wants to go and take his course. Okay. So essentially what we've got here with our master model is we start off with a deep green, or we start off by priming these guys in dark gray. So you can see here I've already done the dark green on this specific model, but they're primed in dark gray, and then a dark camo green is tossed over the top of that, and I left just a little bit of the gray poking out in some areas. And here we have kind of our master model, and this is essentially what I've shot for with green, let's see here, camo green, yellow green, and then bright yellow green, and I even threw a little bit of white in there. So very high kind of contrast for me as I'm kind of growing as a painter. But yeah, I think this is kind of where I'm going, and I'm just kind of working on marrying colors on my way up to like a very, very high intensity kind of yellow green. So, but yeah, that's kind of what we're shooting for tonight, and I'll kind of teach you what I've done so far to achieve this look. And we'll explore a couple other options on a few other models as we progress tonight, and eventually, hopefully, we come to something that looks nice and pretty. So yeah, Robert's busy with Xmas shopping. I hear you. I have so much stuff to do for Christmas. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm still like in the trenches of it. A lot of my family wanted PML t-shirts, so we may see a stream for that in the future. Where I go through and do the screen printing process, which is kind of fun. It's entertaining, but I have to kind of set up the basement for it. It's not really the best. What I'm trying to say is I have a lot of stuff down here, and I need to clean it up before I like present it to the world a little bit. Because I am in a basement, and it does basement things. So there you go. Wheeling Dragon can't complain, just keeping busy. Got into a new book series. That's really cool. What book series are you currently flipping through? I'm gonna put some tunes on here now that we're done with kind of the talky how you doing intro part. This playlist kind of hit me by a person named Panda Beats, and it's free and doesn't have any strikes associated with it. So we're gonna get a little synth wavy up in here tonight, kind of keep the energy going, because I know I am lacking a little bit of energy. All right. So the first step was to spray off this camo green out of our airbrush. So I am kind of doing this, I guess, Food Network style here, where I've already gone through a step. I do have actually an extra model here. What do you know? One that was hiding. I do have an extra guy that I haven't gone through that step with. So we're going to let those guys be in the oven, so to speak, on our Food Network show. And we're going to get ready. So, the Dingy Dungeon. I love it. Forged by Stacy Von Haggart. Very spicy. Fantasy romance. Fun. I'm going to zoom us out a little bit so we can talk about some of the basics of just going through with airbrush stuff. So I've taken the back cap off of this bad boy, and that's just for, ease of maintenance here. I was finding that I was getting some clogs a little while ago, and I just took it off. But essentially, your airbrush is going to look just like this if you're using a 2-stage gravity fed. The first thing that I like to do is put some flow improver in the pot, and you can find this from Vallejo. There's a couple other brands that make similar sauce, so to speak. You can also use just plain old water. This is from a tattoo artist's bottle here. I like to start with a couple drops of flow improver in the pot. If you've watched the show before, which I know Robert and Wheeling Dragon have, they know that I'm an addict to this flow improver stuff. I'll throw a decent amount of flow improver in there, probably 5-6 drops. And then I've got my dark camo green here, which I forgot to shake prior to going at this, but that's all right. So I'm just going to go ahead real quick here and put probably 3 drops, because you're looking for maybe a bit like a 60-40 mix here. 3 or 4 drops. I got 3 healthy ones out of that, so sometimes they come out and it's like little drops. Sometimes they come out big drops. If it's a big drops, I just count it 1 extra. So now that I've got that in the pot, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sponge here and just kind of put it over the front of it, and I'm going to literally bubble the paint. I'm going to push down for air, pull back for you were going to spray just a little bit. And that should be enough to start mixing your paint in with the flow improver. And that'll give you a nice kind of consistent mix. Give it just a second to percolate like a pot of coffee. You can kind of see it in the bottom there. See it on the screen how it's percolating. That's basically what you're looking for. So for this guy, I'm not aiming for the armor on him. I'm literally just looking for the cloth bits. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the spray booth, let there be light. Lots of foraging. Oh, the series, the first book with Forged of Fire, followed by Forged. Well, that's a lot of foraging. Yeah. Almost got scammed today. Oh, that's not good. Also, why am I wearing a glove on this hand? I usually don't. I don't know why. It was just kind of reflexive for some reason. I think it's probably because I was wearing gloves at work the other day. Ugh. There we go. Okay. I'm going to spray just a test pattern on my glove here. And I'm just going to run some lines up and down my glove. Not only to make sure that I have the paint is flowing properly through the airbrush and you can see the spray pattern and whatnot, but I'm going to give myself a little square. It's a little bit of a waste of paint, but you'll see the reason why in a minute. And people that have watched the show definitely kind of know where I'm going with this, but so now I've got a decent representation of the paint color. Yeah, it's behind blue, but if I saturate it enough, it's just going to turn that color. And I'm going to go ahead and start with laying down a real light coat of this camo green on our model. Let me get you guys in here. Come on in. There we go. So now I'm kind of just getting a really, really light coat on here. I'm going to focus just a little bit underneath the model, not too much though. And we're going to go around on basically all the cloth areas and do this procedure. All this is doing is, you know, we're getting a base of color here for our character, or in this case, our kind of men-at-arms. Just getting kind of the idea of this green on him. I mean, you can see it's barely changing color as I'm doing this, and that's my objective here, is to make sure that some of that like dark gray keeps poking out on his cape and whatnot here. I want to make sure that I keep the darks dark and the light light kind of thing. And you'll see what I mean a little bit later. And I'm also going to do his shield, because I want his shield to be painted I want his shield to be painted similarly to the rest of the model here. Okay, so got little bits on his shoulder here that we're gonna do. And we're just kind of doing this out of uniformity at this point. Just to make sure everything kind of comes out nice and neat. Okay, so now as you can see, we have on, you know, some of the front parts, he's got more shadow or like more paint on him than on the cape. That's kind of intentional. Now I'm going to go back and fill in until I'm satisfied that this green is essentially as opaque as it's going to get on probably like the upper half of his cape. And I'm going to do the same with his shield. I'm going to kind of make an ellipse at the bottom. I'm going to leave just a little bit of that gray behind at the very, very bottom. And then just spray in till I'm satisfied. Same thing with the kind of upper parts of this, of his kilt, I guess I'm going to call it. That's what we're doing here. Well, I'm happy that you dodged a bullet on that one there, Wheeling Dragon. Yeah, scammers are, I think, the bane of almost everybody's existence. I get so much stuff in the mail for PML because it's a business, and it's scammers trying to sell me an overpriced OSHA poster. It's hilarious. But, like, if you read it, it's very clear that it's not a like government deal. So now we have our dark green on this guy, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. It's very apparent on the shield. You can kind of see it on the camera on his cape too. What we've left behind with the gray. It's not quite apparent on his cape, but his shield for sure. You can definitely see the gradient on his shield. So we're going to keep that as our example here. So there is our wettest of the amigos here. These guys I've kind of skipped that step with just to save a little bit on time. So now I'll just as kind of a quick 1-2 on how to get a color change in on your airbrush. I'm going to take some of this paint, and I've got like just a disposable cup here. I'm going to take some of this paint and just dump it right out. I got a little bit of a mess going. Let's see here. I'm just going to use this sponge, but trying to keep it a little bit tidy. I missed my shot there. If you've ever tried to like pour orange juice out of a jug too slowly, sometimes that'll happen. And that's kind of what happened here. Okay, so I've got just a little bit of this dark green left in the bottom of the color cup here. The next thing I'm going to do is bring up my mid-tone color. So we had the camo green as our shadow or our darkest color. And then you have a mid-tone, which is going to be yellow-green, and a highlight. So you pick 3 colors and kind of work from there. So in order to make this transition look a bit more seamless, we're going to go ahead and add in a drop or 2 of Flow Improver and then our yellow-green, just because I want to make sure this is still thinned after I put new paint in it. So just like 2 drops, and then I'm going to stick 2 drops of yellow-green, so kind of 50-50 between the old color and the new. 1, 2. So now in the pot it looks super bright when you first add the paint or like your mid-tone. And what we're going to do is take that and we're going to go and percolate that up with the leftover paint that's in our pot, and it will change color just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I'll show you what that looks like here. You can see it percolating in the color cup there. A little bit more. I like to kind of make sure all the pigments combine. Okay, so now this is going to start making some sense to people out there. So now I have my original dark color that I have. I'm going to leave some of that behind in case I want to look and see what it is going to happen if I put other paints over the top of it. If I was going further in this process or painting something else on the Mini, I wanted to see what would happen if colors overlapped. So now I'm just going to go ahead and start painting and over here just to get the actual color out of the cup, because still there's some of that old paint, that old color that we have in here. I'm waiting to see it transition over to our bit more brighter mix. So now I'm just going to make another block of paint here essentially. Let's see. A little bit more. Okay. So now right here, I'm going to make a little bit of that color come through as I paint it on there and see kind of what happens. You can see where it's wet on my glove. Looks like I do need to add a little bit more of that mid-tone, because it's not showing up quite as much as I'd like. It's very, very close to our old color. So I'll put 1 more drop of yellow-green in there. And this is essentially color marriage, as I understand it. I put 2 drops in there because I'm wild and a complete wacko. That's looking a bit more like it. Okay, so now when I spray it over this, you can definitely see that there's now a bit more contrast to it. I like to take, I'm working so far with about a 50%, I guess, raise in, not hue, but I guess about 50% lighter in color, I suppose, is what I'm going with next. So now I'm going to go ahead and keep, why don't you come on in here? I'm going to go ahead and keep the lower portion of that shield that I have with the gray. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to try and keep some of the darker green. And now I'm just going to use... I'm going to try and keep my airbrush kind of about like just a hair's breadth of the trigger, and I'm going to start filling in these upper areas with the mid-tone. Go down just a little bit. There we go. So now you can see it's slowly rising in contrast. Now on his leg here, I'm definitely going to make that color. Another kind of cool trick you can do with the airbrush is kind of use angles to your advantage. So I'm going to go really shallow with the model, and the way my airbrush is pointed, I'm just going to try and hit the top of this guy's the top of his, I guess, kilt area. And if you were to look at that from the side, you'll see that, especially right in there, in this area here, you'll see that it's quite a bit darker. So I can use my shooting angle, so to speak, to kind of catch just enough of those edges to get my point across with this color here. So since this cape is kind of facing us in the light, do the same thing, kind of hit it at an acute angle and work my way down, focusing mainly on this little bubble ridge that he's got. And I think that's the area that's going to catch the light the most. And then he's got kind of this area up here on his shoulders, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that those are saturated kind of with this color, because they're going to be closest to the light. In my mind, you know, the light's coming from top down, and that's what I'm kind of going for here. Okay. So now with this cape, we can definitely say, yeah, the light's coming from the top, so we'll make sure our mid-tone color is present at the top of his cape, for sure. And we can kind of say, yeah, it's gonna hit the middle of his cape. And again, I'm using a very kind of acute angle on my airbrush here to hit just the tops of his cape, so to speak. As much as I can. You can't always do it, but... And then I'm just going to kind of feather it in towards the bottom. We're leaving the lower like third of his cape just kind of our dark color. But now I'm just kind of feathering in that color to the bottom. So I'm relaxing my kind of pull on the trigger to a very, very tiny amount, going back and forth. And now we have a very nice area there that's dark at the bottom. Dust in the kilt. Yeah, gotta dust the kilt. And now I'm just coming back and I'm filling in these areas around the shoulder with our color here. I think that's about as bright as it's gonna get. Okay. So now that we've kind of raised that up a bit, I'm gonna go ahead and dump our original color here with the our original dark color that's in the color cup here. You can kind of see it's gotten mixed pretty well. I don't really need a dark color anymore. At this point, it's all just kind of focusing on the mid-tone and highlights of our color scheme here, which is kind of this green color. These particular guys are Knights of the Wooded Vale or something, you know. They're I have all of these knight characters that I'm going to be sending to Dungeon Minister, and some of them have shields that have like tree branches on them, and I don't really know if they fit his storyline very well, but I know that at least that iconography. But I know that there's like the knights that the knights that he's got running around in his storyline so far. They have a green color scheme to them, and then there's the Baron that is kind of playing a role in this story as well. He's got the Shadow Guard, so they're all black. And so for them, I'm going to have part of that army be black. Have a black color scheme, you know. So to clean out my airbrush here, I put some... I took the paint, dumped it into the cup, and then put some water in the cup, flushed it a couple of times. So essentially, you know, fill it up, pour it in the cup. And then you're kind of left with, you know, some water that looks like that. Put your sponge on there, pull back a little bit, and it'll kind of release the paint that's in the channel here. So, and then dump that bad boy out. Run that procedure just one more quick time. And now the water that's in the color cup is almost clear. Last phase, I'm going to put just a little extra, and then I'm going to shoot it in my discharge cup. You could do this, you know, back into a Dixie cup or something too. But I work in interior, and so I kind of like to keep it somewhat clean if I'm going to be spraying copious amounts of paint. Hence the spray booth. But I know there's some painters that don't. It's just my personal preference anyways. Next up, now that I've got my airbrush cleaned out here, I'm going to go ahead and grab my mid-tone color again, so yellow-green, and now we're shooting with 100% of our mid-tone color. And now I'm going to do even less painting. So I only need like a couple drops of flow improver in the pot now, and like a drop or two of paint. So I'm going to put 4 drops in there, make this thin, because I want our other color to kind of show through. So I got 4 drops to 1 of flow improver onto paint. And same kind of method to the madness as before. We're just going to percolate the paint and the flow improver in the color cup of our airbrush. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and run this over the last color we did. Just see how much of a transition we've got now. There we go. Yeah, you can definitely see that now. We're moving up in color quite a bit. So I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful and with how far back I pull the trigger, because I want this transition to be really gradual. Okay. So I'm going to press for air, pull out just a little bit of paint, very, very small amounts here. And I'm kind of aiming for a nice gradual transition, and I'm leaving behind the previous color on the bottom. I'm focusing this color more to the top and to the middle now. I mean, you really do start painting less and less. I should probably bring you guys in to see what's going on here. Come on in. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, now we've got dark green at the bottom. It's kind of a decent transition in the middle, and then our lighter color on top. We're gonna keep doing the same kind of thing here. I'm just gonna shoot very thin or acute angle down at this guy's kilt. We're gonna dust the kilt again. Hey, thanks for the compliment, Wheeling Dragon. No problem, no problem. What's going on, Tonka Todd? Good to see you. Yeah. We'll be getting back to our previously scheduled shenanigans with Wolfenstein here pretty soon. So I'm, again, just really light on the trigger here. Slowly building up this color where I want it. And then over here on this kind of his exposed cape area, we're going to go ahead and just shoot a little bit of paint on that portion of it. There we go. So now we have some nice transitions there. Okay. So now we've got the dark on the bottom. We've got the mid-tone in the middle. And we've definitely saturated out our mid-tone area there. So now what I can start doing here is, again, really shallow angles. And seeing if I can add in a bit more depth to his cape here. I'm just kind of following some of these ridges along. My goal here, because, you know, essentially with an airbrush, you're shooting a cone of paint. And my objective here is to kind of get some of these ridges and do it real tight. Because the name of the game here is contrast, right? We're looking for our mid-tone to be where it needs to be. We're looking for our darks to be where the darks needs to be, and we're looking to have those two things kind of stand out. I'm going to go back to the shoulders here. I think I caught a decent amount of the ridges there. So we've got some of that going on. Gonna go back to the shoulders here and just kind of where his shoulders and his back is. I'm gonna make that all kind of yellow-green. I'm gonna make sure I don't leave the top of his shoulder here that dark green color. I'm looking to keep those recesses dark though. Okay, so that's about as far as we can go with just our yellow-green part of this. So we've gone, now that we've got our mid-tone in there, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put on our bright yellow-green. This is our highlight color. So we're going to be using the least amount of this as we can, and we'll get even smaller quantities here in a second. Same kind of rinse process as before. All right. So with this, I'm going to start with just like a drop of the yellow-green in my color cup, and then we're going to put like 2 drops of the bright yellow-green. And again, we're just looking for kind of like a flawless transition with this from our dark color to our mid-tone to our light color. So I am going to use a little bit of our previous color in the mix here and add some of our highlight and end with just straight highlight color. And this will give you a nice effect. Okay. So now I've got on my glove here, you can see dark, middle, light. And now I can see what happens if I start spraying our kind of mid-tone to highlight mix right over the top of that. And now it's getting quite light. That's kind of why I put some lines of paint on my glove here, so that I can kind of actively see from dark to mid-tone to light how this is going, and if it's still kind of in the same color range as the other colors I've shot out of the airbrush so far. So same tactic as before. We're going to go ahead and take our mini here, and we're going to focus on kind of start at the top here, and very, very light on the trigger here, getting towards the bottom, like almost no paint coming out of this. We're barely shooting any paint. And now, as I focus kind of the top of the shield, we're getting to the point where now when we saturate this up, we're getting quite green. And I've kind of left the bottom bit of this because it just looks a bit more dramatic to me anyways. All right, moving on. His leg here, we're going to shoot some of this color. Going to keep that same kind of acute angle we had before. Hit his shoulders a bit. And then his cape, we're just going to kind of focus on the very middle of it on the outside with our kind of highlight color. We'll see how we get that progressively brighter hue. And this is creating more interest and contrast in our model, and it'll look really nice on the tabletop because I've been thinking about this more and more, but most of the time you're going to take out some minis or something. At least back in my day, it was like at the tabletop at like a hobby shop. When you're playing at a hobby shop, those places usually have incandescent lights, and they're not usually the greatest. So if you throw on this high contrast on your models, it'll work quite a bit better for being at your, family game shop. I'm not being too careful here, but careful enough with my overspray. Now I'm shooting at his cape like in a very shallow manner here. Trying to get just the ridges. So you can see we're getting progressively brighter and brighter and brighter as, and we're not trying to totally squish the colors underneath it, and we're not trying to cover them totally either. Now I'm going to switch just to straight highlight color. And we should be pretty much there. I mean, I might take it even a step further. The other guy, I did put some white in on the mix, and that's really going to be ultra kind of contrast. I kind of call it obnoxious amounts of contrast, but it really does make a difference. Like I try to throw a decent amount of contrast in with with the work that I do, and keep it to a manner that is workable in a live stream format. So something that isn't going to take, it is going to take 20 hours of paint, but not all in one session, But just so that, there's progress that's made during the stream, and it's like tangible and entertaining, at least partially. It's entertaining to the folks that find it entertaining, which would be you guys. Which, by the way, thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. It's always nice to have some company. I will be getting back though to the Wolfenstein stuff here. I think after the holiday, like I am just booked silly, and which kind of stinks. But we're like halfway done with that thing. I'm surprised with how far we've gotten. Okay. So back to our brightest shade here, this yellow, bright yellow green. It's not gonna show up on the camera here for me. It's not gonna focus, I should say. Hey, well, I wish you a great morning, for your early morning. I hope it's a nice time for you. So now I'm really going to thin this down. I've got like 5 or 6 drops of flow improver in the color cup, and I'm going to put like maybe 1.5 of this bright yellow green in there. Boop. Boop. That was more like 2, but how do you really calculate half a drop of paint? The first one was just a little bit larger than the other, I guess. And the same procedure to kind of percolate the paint in the color cup here. Just gonna start making a bubble. So this is almost like a toxic green, It's very, almost fluorescent. It's very, very bright. Now, you can see the transition that's happened here on my glove. When I start to put my highlight color over it, once it kind of gets there down into the barrel, takes a second for the siphon kind of to kick up. But now I'm going to kind of just shoot it a little bit on top here, get it to the point where it's fully saturated. Shoot a little bit down below too to kind of get that idea. But you can really see now that is pretty bright. That's really bright. And we're going to put that over our next color here. So now I'm going to do the same tactic here. And I'm just going to carefully pull that trigger back just ever so slightly. I mean, very little amount of pressure you got to use on this. And fill in kind of the top bit of his shield here for our highlight color. And now you can really see the contrast between the dark and the light. And we haven't, our colors, we haven't really left out any. Any colors in between. We've tried to maintain kind of a running tally of what colors are where. Okay, Well, thanks for hanging around there, Wheeling Dragon. PML has lots of holiday orders to fill, it seems. I do have a lot of holiday orders to fill. Well, not from the store, unfortunately. Not quite yet. But I do have friends and family that want T-shirts for PML. There's so many people supporting what I do here at PML. Just in their word of mouth, spreading PML via word of mouth, and I know there's a lot of you guys out there too that are doing that. But the amount of support I have for what I'm trying to achieve here, and spreading the joys of simply painting a model, it amazes me. It's really cool. So I gotta thank those folks somehow. Not only that, but it was not cheap to get to Canada. So your boy is throwing in T-shirts for holiday gifts because I can make them myself, and it works out really well on the wallet. All right, so again, back to the shoulders on this guy with our highlight color here, because that's essentially where most of the light's going to be from in our mental setting, I should say. And then now here, I'm going to be very careful again, and at that high angle, just try and skirt the littlest bits on his skirt here. And on his leg, I'm going to try and control my spray pattern and leave it up to so that I don't mix too many of those other colors, but we're getting a pretty dang good result here so far. A little bit of that bright yellow green there on his cape. And now you have quite a bit of drama happening with just the color green. Well, yellow green, but just the color green. We've made quite a bit of impact here. Why don't we take it a step further and we'll get even crazier with it. We'll add in a drop of just your standard old kind of white paint, and this will be kind of our final highlight color. The Scrub Sapien. What's going on, Scrub? Wow, long time no see indeed. I was wondering what happened with you. Did them killing off your army in Age of Sigmar? Did them killing off a whole bunch of models? Did that get you out of the hobby or something? I was getting concerned. You were doing videos and stuff, and then I didn't see anything. It's good to see you, though. Welcome back. So in my color cup here, I've got this bright yellow green, and to kind of explode our contrast even further, we're going to use a drop of white paint and a little bit of extra flow improver. And this is if you want to take it a step further and get kind of real crazy with it. Oop. Okay, this is going to be really white, actually. White doesn't come out in a drop for whatever reason. It comes out in a goop. It's one of the thicker paints I think they have. So I'm going to add just a little extra flow improver here. Four drops-ish. Did they demand maple syrup as tribute at the Canadian border? No. Do you sell? I don't. That depends on. There's so many things I could say to that. Yeah, that depends on what you want. Yeah, I sell dice and other things and all kinds of stuff. I do sell. Do sell a thing. We'll leave the. As this is kind of an informational video, we'll leave the the shilling to the end about the Paint Minis Live hobby shop. But yes, that is a good point. Okay, so I just stuck a brush in there to get this agitated a little bit. So now we have almost a mint color. I mean, it is super white. Let's see what that does with my glove here. Let's pull it back a little bit. See what that does. That's really bright. Oh crap! So yeah, you can see our highlight color right here. Bring it in a little bit. And now, if we shoot over that highlight color, it just disappears. So this is about as like light as it gets for our color scheme here. And I'm just gonna barely put any of this on the model. And it's gonna be this is essentially the sheen on his cape. You know, this is the very... there we go. Let's get these guys out of the way so the camera doesn't try and focus on them over this guy. Yeah. Can you see now how much brighter that is? This is like the sheen on his cape as it's getting... progressively brighter. Hey, Merry Christmas, Calvinotti. Indeed, we're getting so close. We're getting so close, aren't we? Scrub Sapien moved, and most of the mini units are still packed. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Well, I hope to see more from you in the future if you're still, thinking about doing that. Doing mini painting. I'm gonna be really careful here on the super highlight bits here. I don't want to desaturate any of the colors that I've already done. I'm going to put... I mean, most of this is just air coming out of the airbrush. It's very little paint. Cal, this was the stream that I think you've wanted for a long time. The super contrast stream. Right along his shoulders as well, we're going to put some of this. I mean, you can see just how much brighter this is getting. I mean, it just takes a little bit of paint to make that start to pop. And we're going to do it right at the edges here too of our shield. I'm still trying to marry the colors together, but it's a little bit slower now. So I'm working with such a bright freaking color. So now it's really, really contrasty, almost color book, or like comic book-esque style from the front here with the cloth. All right, nice. Yeah, I hear you about not playing their Scrub Sapien. I haven't played 40K in like a long time. That was like my go-to game back in the day. We're gonna go ahead and try and hit again just the like top raised edges here of his cape along his shoulders. Very kind of a cute angle here. And it's going to be just kind of at the top. I'm not focusing anywhere else with this particular color. using that airbrush to our advantage here. And now you have a super high contrast paint scheme right there with our little warrior guy here. So this is attempt number 2 so far. But I'm doing these guys one by one, just in case if something stands out to me to make this, to make them even better. Like, this was attempt number 2 here, and then we have attempt number 1 hanging out right here. I think this guy kind of came out a bit better, the second one tonight over this guy. I can already see there's some improvement happening here, just with my own, technique with the contrast thing. I think this guy needed more of the mid-tone. It's very much so stark contrast from... The cape looks better, though, but this guy has a bit more of the mid-tone set in him, so that transition looks a bit more gradual. This is quite a bit more stark, though. I kind of dig this guy a little bit more, though. Not gonna lie. So, we're learning as we go a little bit more, but this is an exercise. I'm kind of seeing how a lot of this contrast is working out as I'm kind of going here, but I'm liking the results I'm getting so far. What kind of time we got here? We're sitting at about 9:30, so yeah, unfortunately it kind of stinks that I got sick, because I'm like far behind on a lot of these painting projects too. But that's a-okay. We'll live and move on. It'll be good to go. All right. I'm just cleaning up my airbrush here, and then I'll probably chit-chat here for about another 10-15 minutes before I jump off. Miss PML has got a chicken in the oven, and I can smell it all the way down here, and it smells freaking delicious. I had a longer shift at work than I expected today, kind of because I had stuff to catch up on. That is a-okay. So after I'm done with the painting session, I'll do the same rinse maneuver I did with changing colors in the airbrush. Spray it out the front, and then I'll spray out just a little bit of thinner too, just to keep that needle clean, in case it managed to pick up any extra paint. I'll zoom out so you can kind of see some of that process, but yeah, I know, right? Yum indeed. So I'm gonna put like probably 7-8 drops of thinner in there. I don't know. I kind of eyeball it, but just a bit of thinner in the bottom. Sometimes I'll take a brush and just kind of get the thinner around in a color cup too. We'll rinse it out real quick. Get some of the stuck-on greedy grubbins in there, all incorporated into the bottom, and rinse it back out. Yeah, it looks like there was quite a bit of stuff still stuck in the color cup. That's okay. That's all right. Shoot some water in there. Do it all over again real quick. And spray out the thinner. Yeah, just a healthy amount. I use a healthy amount. I'm gonna get these guys out of the way in case any thinner decides it's gonna go nuts over there. And then, yeah, just thinner right into the discharge cup. Again, healthy amount. Just keeps that bad boy nice and clean. Shoots out any little particulates that manage to work their way into that very fine area. Okay, Well, that's basically a wrap for painting tonight. Again, we'll just oogle at our two minis. Even at like a distance, they look pretty cool. I'll put this guy on that side. So let's check him out real quick here. So this again was my attempt. I just did this on my own time. This was my first attempt with it. And I think I just needed a bit more mid-tone in there. It's very stark. Super stark, actually. You can kind of see some of the mid-tones, but man, it's basically dark and light, which I wasn't really shooting for. I was shooting more for this guy. This guy looks sick. And we incorporated a bit more of the midtones in there. I like the cape, especially on the way that the cape sheen worked out. Just that little extra bit of white on our highlight color. I think this guy came together a lot better than the first one did. Not saying the first one's trash, but this guy definitely has some extra chops. So, and he looks like, you can only like translate so much of the color through the camera too. I mean, no camera is going to capture what you see with the eye, but you can see it's very, you can see some of it on camera, but like in the naked flesh, from your naked eye, I should say, it does look quite a bit better too. It's very nice. So these guys are definitely healthy candidates. I'm learning as I'm going too, but this was just kind of a contrast exercise. And one thing that I find super helpful for this is get a glove. Get just a disposable glove. Even if you're just brush painting, I mean, having some of the previous color that you can test out the other colors you're going to be using on, it really will help you with seeing how those colors interact, how you can marry them, and how you can make them darker, make them lighter. It's pretty nice. It's something that's become basically standard in the painting studio for me. Is making sure you got that down. Let's talk about schedule, because I'm definitely behind. I will be out of town here coming up, for the holidays, basically. And I have a class with Mr. Kenny tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to be doing that instead of streaming. So it seems like I'll see you guys after Christmas. And we'll go from there. Just keep an eye out on, the channel and do the bell icon thing or whatever, do the YouTube shenanigans to make sure that you know the next time that I'm on if you want more hobby goodness or, some more painting shenanigans. I should probably do all the shilly bits. So if you didn't know, Paint Minis Live has a web shop and we sell paints there. And it's super awesome. All of the paint you see behind me could be yours for the very low prices that they are. And you can find them at paintminislive.com. And you can also take a look at our wonderful affiliates who are content creators specifically out there talking all things nerd. And I would highly suggest you go and click on their YouTube channel and then use their affiliate link because they get a kickback for it. And it's super awesome. And who wouldn't like an extra couple bucks for, presents for the kids, and you can help your content creator do that over at paintminislive.com. That is about all I have for the shill stuff for PML. If you're a content creator and you're interested in becoming affiliated with Paint Minis Live, where you can get a very healthy percentage and do have a wonderful business partner, you can go ahead and contact business at paintminislive.com. I should probably have that as a little thing to throw up here. I don't. But in future streams, I will. So it's, business at paintminislive.com. You can contact us there. Or you can go to paintminislive.com and go ahead and click on affiliate, and then register to become an affiliate, I believe. And it's a little orange button on that page. And you can register to become an affiliate. We'll look through your material, and there's no subscriber count shenanigans or watch hour or whatever. Like, as long as you're talking nerd, we want to hear it. So go ahead and give us a shot on that front. I think that's about it for me tonight, folks. If you have any questions, now would be the time to throw them in the chat. I can answer a couple of questions if you have them. Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap up here. But it was really nice talking to everybody. We Scrub Sapien is back, friends. Scrub Sapien is back. Always good to see Calvinoni, the one and only. I wish you the best happy holidays. And very cool 70, what was it? They weren't 76 mil. That sounds way out of... Let me check Discord. I saw the little minis that you painted up the other day on the Discord, which we also have. Come join the Discord. It's in the description below if you want to come do that stuff. We have a wonderful mini showcase. 172nd scale, Barbarians and Undead. But those guys are looking real good. I'm not sure what game they're for, but yeah, they're looking pretty undead. As well as the Frostgrave skeletons. The Stone Giant. I didn't quite look into the skeleton, but the Stone Giant is looking pretty baller there, Cal. So very nice, very nice. Well, I'm happy you like hanging out here too. I've always held that Paint Minis Live is an open and welcoming community for anybody that wants to talk nerd and hobby, and I'm happy you're here too. Also, this dice dagger from Wheeling Dragon, man, talk about some table cred right there. I've got my own dice dagger and hand painted dice too. I love that stuff, man. That is big old memories for me. Big old memories. All right, well, upon not seeing any questions in the chat, if you're watching in the replay and you have any questions about what you saw tonight, feel free to go ahead and put them in the comments section. I'll get to them as soon as I can, and we will. I'll make sure that you get an answer, or it'll be covered in a future stream. I'll present whatever it is that you got questions on. Anyways, I'm Bill T for Paint Minis Live. Thanks for joining me tonight, and we'll talk to you again after the Christmas holiday. Stay up to date with me on Discord if I have anything else to share, and I'll talk to you then. All right, we'll see your question in the Discord. All right, bye-bye, everybody. Talk to you later.